So today's topic came from a member of the audience in the last few months on accessible gardening. So I'm not sure why, but I agreed to take this topic on, which, as I've already pointed out, this is not my area of expertise, but I Googled and emailed people and looked around and was lucky enough to find two people who are the experts on all things growing. And they are going to speak to us today. So let me just grab their bios here so I can properly introduce them. So we have Bonita Condon, and she is a member of the Montgomery County, Maryland Master Gardener Speakers Bureau and has spoken previously about accessible gardening. She's prepared a PowerPoint as well as tips and info on accessible gardening tools. And Lee Shahay, am I pronouncing it right, Lee? Shahay, sorry. Lee Shahay is a horticultural therapist from New Jersey. So we have someone from out of state today. And she is the vice president for the New Jersey's Board of Directors of the Mid-Atlantic Horticultural Therapy Network.
Correct.
That does not roll off the tongue, Lee, at all. And she works for Parker Health Group, a New Jersey-based aging services organization in Middlesex County. So these two folks are going to talk with us about all things accessible gardening. Feel free to ask questions, and Lee is going to kick us off, right?
I am, and I want to thank you all for allowing me to be part of your session today, and it's great to meet all of you. As Sarah said, I'm Lee Shahay. I'm a horticultural therapist. So how many of you, by the show of hands or want to speak up, know what horticultural therapy is, had ever heard of it before? No? Okay. Bonita, had you?
Yeah.
You have, okay. So horticultural therapy basically is a relationship between plants and people, and is utilizing plants and nature in a rehabilitative community or social setting for individuals who are interested in gardening, as well as using it for sensory purposes. I studied at the New York Botanical Garden, where I have my certification in horticultural therapy. I continue to take classes there in botany and gardening, floral design. Everything I learned there, I bring back to my program here at Parker Health Group. I've been with Parker Health Group for 14 years, and I started their horticultural therapy program. So basically what I do is I'm global within the company, and we're in Middlesex, New Jersey, and you can go online and look up Parker Health Group and find out a lot of information about us. My home base is our assisted living called Stonegate, and then I also go to some of our other nursing homes. We have 5 nursing homes, which include memory care homes as well. And we have an adult day health services center that is now reopening in August, and I also provide programming for them. Basically what I do is I help to facilitate accessible and enabling gardens outdoors for our residents and our elders. I work with the staff to train them on how to actually plant and maintain those gardens. And then I also do a variety of activities with our residents and our elders throughout the year. So I have a beautiful solarium where I am now, where we can run programs here for our residents in our assisted living. And then we do a variety of activities for, floral design, sensory. We maintain plant collections. One of the great things about being here and working with the residents is that many people will come to us and come to live in our community and think that if they were gardeners before or had an interest in plants and flowers before, that stops when they come through our door, but that's really not the case. So by being here on site with them, I can encourage them to continue that passion or learn new skills and do something totally new that they've never done before. So it's really great. And I make house calls, as I call them, to the residents and help them maintain their plant collections. Some of our residents who reside here at the assisted living on our 2nd and 3rd floor neighborhoods have balconies, and I really encourage them to, establish plant collections on those balconies as well, and I help them to take care of them. We also have a very active, because I believe in advocating for pollinators. So we plant native plants and We have a very active black swallowtail butterfly, which is the New Jersey state butterfly, as well as monarch butterfly programs. So we bring the caterpillars indoors and we raise them and we release them back out to our gardens. And our garden is registered with the Monarch Watch out of Kansas, University of Kansas. So it's a really great program. I believe in sustainability. We are also, very much advocates for our pollinators. So any questions? No? No questions? All right, I'm going to turn it over to Bonita.
All right. And so now I'm going to share my screen, right?
That's right.
Okay. I don't see the green thing anymore. Let's see.
You got to go back to the Zoom window.
Okay. Isn't this ridiculous? Gallery full screen, let's see. No, that's not share screen. Let's see.
Down at the bottom in the green, or are you not on the Zoom?
I guess I should show a different view of my full screen. Let's see. Oh dear. Now I have it. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
No panic. Everybody here we've all done Zoom calls and been in your shoes.
Let me know when you see it.
We got it.
Yay. Whew.
Excellent work.
I mean, I have done this before, but Zoom is always challenging for me.
Yes.
And now they have Teams, which is even, well, I won't go there. Anyway, I was really happy to hear Lee, because we do have a therapeutic gardening and horticultural gardening part of the Master Gardener program of Montgomery County. And we have, I think, 34 nursing homes in Montgomery County and 833 assisted living facilities. So we have groups that go there and help people with doing therapeutic gardening with them. And it's a wonderful, wonderful program. I'm sure New Jersey is very fortunate to have you there.
Thank you.
And today I'm not going to really talk so much about therapeutic, but other types of gardening. And my name is Bonita Condon. And on this first slide here is a picture of, I'm going to try to get rid of all this stuff on my screen. I have all these views that I want to get rid of. Let me put this over. Blocks, they're a different height. At one time when we were this was on a slope in our backyard and they were in ground gardens, but now this is what my husband uses and I use to garden. Notice the walkway around these they're 8 foot long and 4 foot wide beds, and the path around the garden is a blue gravel with a sealer on it. Over the years, that changed, and I'm going to show you that a little bit later. But anyway, this is our garden, and you'll see other pictures of that throughout this slide, this demonstration. Anyway, so there's 3 required slides. The Master Gardener program is under the University of Maryland. And there's different breakouts of the Master Gardener program. And we do have like I said, horticultural and therapeutic also, if you want other talks. All of us, there's a speakers bureau and we speak on all of these topics. So we're welcome, we would be happy to come back and talk to you on any other topic you want regarding gardening. Is my voice dropping? If it is, I apologize. Okay, here is another required slide. Our vision is a healthier world through environmental stewardship. And our mission is pretty much to train residents of Montgomery County on gardening practices that are sustainable and healthy. Here are 4 other garden beds that are raised. These are at my community garden. They're again 8 feet long each and 4 feet wide. And that is my husband, Ed, there in the garden. And this is the right height for him. And height is a consideration when you have raised gardens, because different abilities need different heights. And these have worked for him. Montgomery County built these as an experimental garden for us, and we were fortunate enough to be in the community garden at the time. So this is our garden. They're the only raised ones there, and they're very much the envy of other gardeners there. I get asked a lot. I know all of you are smart about what accessible gardening is, but the first time I gave this talk, I got the question, what is accessible gardening? Well, it's pretty much, as you know, is making gardening available to everybody, no matter what your age or what your abilities. And if you have not gardened before, just like Sarah, she's starting small with one pot, and that's good to start small. And this woman here who is in a senior living facility, she's going to garden in that container there on her right. And it's good to start small so that way you can undo it, or if it's not successful, you don't need to do it next year. I've always started too large. That's one of my problems. So I usually have some things that don't work out so well. There's different types of gardens, and I'm going to talk a little bit about each type. A traditional garden is that upper right-hand picture, and that is a picture of a traditional garden that has straw between the rows. In the lower right is a picture of the one that was on my front slide, and that is my home backyard garden with the raised beds. And then there's, of course, container gardens, and then there's a vertical garden to the left. And Lee also spoke of sensory gardens, and I will have one slide on a sensory garden.
Can we just pause 1 second, Bonita? I just got a note from an attendee who says they're not seeing the slides. I'm seeing them. Is anyone else having a problem?
I can see them as well.
I can see them as well.
I see them clearly.
Okay, then Cheryl, I'm gonna assume that this is a problem on your end because everyone else is seeing the slides.
Cheryl, try exiting out and coming back. Sometimes Zoom is wonky.
Thanks. Sorry, Bonita, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Is she and Cheryl in now, or?
Well, she'll just be back in a second, so you can continue.
Okay, so then I will. Okay, here's anyway 4 different types of gardens on this page. The advantage of using first we're going to talk about traditional gardens, and the advantage of using a traditional garden is the soil is already there and maybe need to be modified to put some richer soil in, because especially in Montgomery County, what do we have? We have clay. And in order to make plants healthy and to grow, you're going to have to modify that soil probably. But still, you do have something to start with. With a raised garden, you're going to have to add more soil. And traditional gardens are a lot more economical and easier to start up than a raised garden. And they also are a less permanent structure if things don't work out. So you can get rid of it the next year if you wanted to. And they don't have as many water requirements because you can rely on the environment to rain and stuff for water. This is the picture of that traditional garden again with the straw between the rows. The straw is an excellent tool for keeping the soil very moist and also for cutting down on the number of weeds in the garden. That straw is a trip hazard. If my husband were using this garden, this is not his garden, he could not go through here because of the straw. A cane or a walker is also probably not a good idea in a garden like this, but it is okay for if you have arthritis or something like that, just keep the straw on it. The straw is a fantastic way, or you put other stuff down too. The straw is just a really good way to prevent weed growth and keep the soil moist. There's other things you can put there, and that's again another discussion for a later date. This is also a traditional garden. There's a walkway through this garden. On the right-hand side of that garden is a small little garden with chicken wire fence around it to keep the bunny rabbits out. And I have grown bush beans in that garden. This was many years ago, probably 8 years ago, and I could step over that fence and step on that board and then harvest the beans. I can't do that anymore without having a trip hazard, so I don't do that. And I'm going to show you how that garden looks today. That's here, and believe it or not, there is chamomile growing under here somewhere, but I have to look for it to find it. But here's that, there is a pathway going through here. The right side of that pathway is where at one point there was the bean garden. I actually did have some extra pepper plants, and they are in there somewhere growing, and I think they're doing okay. And also the big roseberry bush back here. Okay, I can't see my slide here. Whoops, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, my screen is half covered up here, so I'm sorry, Cheryl's having problems and I'm having problems too. Anyway, this slide is about raised bed gardens, and raised bed gardens, different than in-ground gardens, are much easier to manage because they're higher, and they're probably easier to manage for most everybody. And because you're not walking across the soil, there's less soil compaction. There's also a lot better drainage. They will indeed dry out faster though, so you do need to bother them for water needs. But they do give easy access to gardening. Here are those raised gardens at the top. Again, you've seen those, the one at the bottom. This woman is sitting on the side of her gardens. She's at a senior living facility, and these gardens were built for her by her children, and it's exactly what she needs. She's able to sit down, she's able to walk through her gardens. They're the right height and the right width for her. Again, 4 feet is traditionally how wider than a garden should be wider than 4 feet if it's raised, so you can reach in from different sides of it. This picture is taken at a senior living facility near her home, and Ed is trying to see if this would work for him before we built our gardens. And he found out that this garden was too high for him. You notice he's tall, and this garden is almost under his armpit, and it's just not comfortable. So he needed a lower garden. And this is what you do before you decide how high your garden is. Decide how high you do want it. This garden may be wonderful if you're on a cane or have arthritis or something, but not for, the main thing here is just make sure the height is what you need. But also make sure there's a place to sit down if you're not in a cart or the electric wheelchair. So there's no bench here. Here's another raised bed garden. In the front here is these plastic sides were bought at a big box store, Home Depot or Ace. I'm not sure where they were bought. This is at our doorway demonstration garden for master gardeners. They were snapped together. It's about 26 inches high, I think, and 4 feet wide. And these gardens are fantastic for easy to put together. You do have to fill them with something, compost material, leaves, and whatnot. And that is pretty much another discussion. So I'm not going to go in that today, but if you notice behind these gardens, there's 2 other raised beds at different levels. They're both, one is about 3 feet wide and the other's, I think, 4 feet. And notice the height of these, and they're a little bit different depending on what you need. Now let's talk about salad boxes and salad tables. A salad box has a bottom to it. The bottom should be something that you can drain through, like these are master gardeners building salad boxes for a therapeutic gardening exercise, and they're stapling mesh bottoms to these salad boxes. Salad boxes, they're shallow, so they will only hold, they're better for some herbs and lettuce and strawberry, something that doesn't have a deep root system. You could not really grow a tomato in a salad box successfully. Unlike salad boxes, salad tables are very similar, but they're on legs. So if you need to get closer to the table, this gentleman can roll under the table and get really close and work up close and personal with his greenery. And there's also a turnaround here, so he can roll around, and there's gardening on either side of the, that he can do. So this is a salad table. And the difference between salad table and salad box is that one's on legs and one isn't, pretty much.
Can I just make a comment at this point, Bonita, going back to that slide, if you don't mind?
Yes.
One of the things that we do here at Parker, and one of the things that I have started working on with our residents here at the assisted living and really promoting them in our nursing homes as well, is the concept that you're seeing here that this gentleman has. He's requires the use of a wheelchair, and he is rolling up to the planter. One of the types of planters that we have found to be very successful is called a VEG trug, T-R-U-G planter. And you can purchase them through Amazon. They're not very expensive. They're wooden. They come with a liner that is, porous and water drains well through them. They do require assembly, but they're a really great concept for individuals who require the use of a wheelchair. You can also stand and work in it. You can sit on a walker and work in it. And they're a really great planter. You can also purchase them through Gardener Supply.
And you said they were spelled, just so I can put it in the chat, V-E-G-T.
Yep, veg trug.
At one point I was touring community gardens, and we had some of those, and they're really nice. There's also another type of garden that's called a rolling bed garden. I had to cut some slides for this presentation, but I do have them in here somewhere. So the bed actually, the top of the bed actually rolls toward you. It's on rollers, and it makes that really, really convenient for folks in, that are sitting down. Anyway, there's a lot of different, thanks Lee, there's a lot of different things to investigate if you are going to do a table.
So can I jump in just for 1 second to show you guys mine? So it's
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing you. I'm not hearing you.
Can you see that it's on wheels so I can pull it in the house if I want to?
We can sort of see it, Shannon.
Let me see
I'm
a
not
little
seeing
bit. I'm gonna put myself on mute.
Okay. She's gonna mute and then back up. There we go.
Shall I continue?
And
Hang on.
I spotlighted her for everyone, so maybe.
Yeah, hang on one
she'll pop
sec,
up.
Bonita, because she's showing. So it's I'll try to describe. Oh, Shannon's going very quick. So it's a on legs, and Shannon said that it's actually on wheels, so she can pull the whole thing inside. It's maybe 3 feet long and a foot and a half wide. I can't quite tell from here, but, and then she's got some trellises, so she must have some plants that are going to grow up those.
Nice, very nice.
Thank you, Shannon.
I'm sorry I didn't, hold on 1 second, please. Okay, I did not see Shannon's pictures. I tried to go through it. So anyway, let me see if I here. Okay, so where are we? Where did I leave off? Okay, so we were here. Now we're going to go to containers. There's a little container picture on the right of this slide, and it shows a dolly, and on top of that dolly is a white potato in a pot, in a tub, and that could be moved around the deck. It was an inventive way to make sure this potato got the light that it needed. That's the nice thing about containers. They can be moved around on decks and porches, and they're easy to water and they're easy to harvest. And pretty much anything can be grown in a container if it's the right container. Containers will freeze faster than plants in the ground or even in raised gardens. And they also need to be really closely monitored for water. This is a sister master gardener, Mary Kay, and this is her deck. She has vegetables on her deck and ornamentals and herbs that she's growing. If you'll notice at the back of the deck, there is a hose or the guaranteed water source for this garden. And so she can go out every day and squirt them in the hotter weather like we've been having lately. Notice also there's a upside down bucket at the one end of the deck that she can sit on to rest while she's outside. This is another example of containers, a variety of containers. This was at our demonstration garden for Master Gardeners. The reason I have this slide in here is to point out that no matter what type of container you used, it will need drainage. So even these paint buckets here have holes drilled in the bottom of them so that they do have good drainage. And this size of bucket is a double bucket, would be ideal for a tomato. These are vertical gardens. These pictures are from the Pennsylvania University Master Gardener Program. And on the left side is showing the construction of the vertical garden. Then on the right are the herbs and small, shallow growing herbs and vegetables that can grow in there. The problem with vertical gardens that I see is they dry out very, very quickly. This particular example is a very large vertical garden, but you could indeed get away with something, even a plant hanging over a ledge on a deck would be a vertical garden, considered a vertical garden. But just, again, the main problem with vertical gardens is the need for watering and monitoring continually. Sensory gardens, Lee talked about sensory gardens. This is again from Pennsylvania State University. This is a Korean spice viburnum, which has the magnificent aroma to it, as do many other plants. And sensory gardens engage the 5 senses, either your smell, you can actually taste with your herbs. We talked about herbs before, or even touching. And I'm not talking cactus touching, but touching, there's different plants have different feels to them. And this just gives you a sense of well-being walking through a sensory garden. Our version of a sensory garden is here with there's a ramp on the right side of this slide that comes down from the front door of our house. And then my husband makes a U-turn and comes down this concrete sidewalk. And it's lined with very aromatic milkweed plants and other stuff. It's to me magnificent walking through there. There's pollinators flying everywhere, and he's going through there. And sometimes I come home and he's sitting there like Ferdinand the Bull, just enjoying the aroma and the butterflies and bumblebees that are around him. And as you know, bees are not going to sting you unless you step on them, and then they're dead anyway. So it's just one sting. So let's talk about paths a little bit. When constructing a path in a garden, consider the environmental aspect of it, and that where is the rain going to go? This path seems to be pretty sturdy and pretty environmentally sound. Paths should be 36 inches wide for wheelchairs, and there should be a turnaround on paths at the end, especially in a garden. There should be someplace to turn around. It's sometimes easy to forget that once you go all the way down, and if you're in a wheelchair, you got to turn around somewhere. So this is why this slide is here. And always think about the water and where is that going to go in a path. And that's what we did with our crushed stone in our gardens at home. However, that crushed stone over time pitted and it became very dangerous. So we did replace it with concrete. So we have concrete walkways all around the garden, 36 inches, and these work perfectly for Ed. And he's able to get through here safely without fear of, if he's going to tumble over, it's not going to be because of these pathways. And here is the walkway from the front of our house to the back of our house at those 4 raised bed gardens. Once you decide what type of garden you're going to have, either container or raised beds or whatever, then think about what you're going to grow. You can grow herbs, like you can grow chamomile in a pot for sure. And I'm a big sweet potato person, so up the upper right, we grow a lot of sweet potatoes. squash. You might want to grow fruits like strawberries. So decide what you're going to grow. And also, once you decide what you're going to grow, decide how you're going to label what you grow. Because labeling plants that go into the ground or in a pot, believe me, it's really easy to forget what's in the pot and what type it is, once it starts producing. So these are all nicely labeled, and it's helpful for the next year also, so you could decide what you like and what you don't like. Caring for gardens is sometimes challenging. It's always nice to get somebody to help you. And this is our eldest grandchild, Wesley, starting his poppy harvest white potatoes. So he's digging in there and he loves it. And he's now just got his driver's license. So he's a little bit older, but this is such a wonderful picture. I try to include it in this presentation. When you're gardening, consider your body and not hurting your body, and wear gloves, always wear gloves. You can get 3 packs at the big box stores for, I'm not sure what they cost now. I haven't bought any since COVID really, but I buy them by the dozens, and I get the 3 packs. I think they're $15 for 3, but they are padded. Put them on your hands. Also, if you're going to be kneeling down or anything, wear knee pads or get little kneeling pads or benches to sit on. Also, the width of the handle on tools is important. If you put your index finger and your thumb together, that's how big around the tool handle should be. And the tool handle should be as sturdy, as soft and non-slip, and the tool should be as sturdy as possible. And forget these heavy old tools in the old days. They make so many nicer things now with the lighter weight metals and everything else. I have a quick YouTube, and I'm going to start that. This is Annie Napier and Freddie Hill from Oklahoma County Master Gardener Program. And I'm going to start that up now.
Hi, my name is Annie Napier. I'm from the Oklahoma County OSU Cooperative Extension. I am the horticulture educator and the Master Gardener advisor for that county. And one part of horticulture that we provide education on is how to keep you gardening, even if you're getting a little sore in the back or a little older in age. Aging, we're all doing it, right? So with that, I want to introduce Freddie Hill. He's an Oklahoma County Master Gardener. He's been a Master Gardener since 2002, right?
2002, yes.
That's awesome. Thank you for serving Oklahoma County for 15 years.
I love it. It's a great group, and I love to learn and educate.
One of the great things that he does is he'll go to organizations within the county and educate other groups of gardeners. And then he'll also be at the extension to where when people call in and ask specific questions about the problems that they're having, we get questions from everything about pests and what vegetables are best to grow. And Freddie and I both have a passion for therapeutic horticulture or enabling horticulture. And so some of the things that we like to do are teach people how they can continue gardening. And so we have a few of those tools here today. This is one that Freddie keeps in a really strategic place.
There's a lot of varieties of things. This is like a handicap grabber. It's the most utilitarian of all of them you can find. It's probably 25 bucks. And just, it lasts forever.
Yeah. So one thing I do that's really, really fun, when I'm able to get down on my knees, my husband has these knee pads that I put on both knees, and they're so springy because he uses them to crawl around in the attic. And we find them at big box stores even for less than $10, but they really protect your knees. And I think it's easier than carrying around a knee pad. Another thing I like to use is something that you can attach to your drill. And what it does is it digs the hole for you. So for any of you that are having wrist or hand arthritis, or even just weaker arms as you get older, if you're repairing from an injury, this is something that can really be beneficial, especially in our clay soils. Another thing I like to tell people about is that there are a good variety of tools, whether you're gardening when you're sitting down or standing up. These are telescoping tools, and they're available as well at some of your local hardware stores or on really great at really great garden centers. And so this one is really one of my favorite ones. I like to keep my tools sharp. This is something that you can use to get the weeds out and cultivate the soil. So I can use that sitting down or standing up. You can always sit on a 5-gallon bucket while you're gardening, but this is another tool that you can use. And they come in metal and plastic. This is one that I actually found at a local grocery store for less than $5 during the seasonal time. But I like to keep a pair of gloves in a box, and then I can sit on it and garden, or I can actually tip it over and kneel. And then it helps me stand back up with some stability by using the handles. When we're doing container gardening, it's good to use a smaller tool instead of a shovel or even your drill. So you can see here that these are an ergonomic grip. See how Freddie's wrist stays at a straight angle? That's better for him because the less he moves that smaller joint and the more he moves the bigger joint, the less sore he's gonna feel the next day. I know a lot of gardeners can't stop at gardening for 15 minutes, but that is the recommendation, is to try to do only one movement over 15 minutes and then change what you're doing. Another thing that you can do is incorporate a handle. You can find handles in T-grips or shaped like Ds. And what you do is you would put them onto any regular tool that you have. So imagine that's there. And what this does for Freddie is it allows him to use 2 hands instead of 1 while he's gardening. So what he can do is he'll hold it and he'll dig in. Again, using that, that big muscle group instead of the smaller muscle group and reaching less. Freddie does only a little bit of watering in his garden in Oklahoma, and that's all by planning. But the things that he does need to reach, he can reach with a longer handled tool. And so he won't have to bend over as far, putting less pressure and strain on his back and less repetition.
It's a low velocity too, so you don't wash the soil out of your.
You always want to water like it's a gentle rain.
Yes.
Well, I hope that some of those tips help you in your gardening, and we hope that you will call us if you have any questions. Hi, my name is Annie Napier.
And don't call them because they are in Oklahoma. So you can call us though. Anyway, so here is another slide that Sister and Master Gardener, not all Master Gardeners are women. These pictures of Master Gardener. So Erica Smith, she's also head of the Speakers Bureau. She was visiting the Maine Botanic Gardens, and she sent me this picture, which I thought was really beneficial to show here. It shows some of the tools that Annie and Freddie were using, and also tools that my husband uses, especially the one that Freddie had with that red tool. That the telescopic tool is very, very useful for my husband. He uses it all the time. Anyway, I think that's about the end of the slides. Yes.
Can you go back to that one slide, if you wouldn't mind, Bonita, where you're showing the tools?
Yep.
Okay, so the ergonomic tools that you see on there, the one with the green handle, and then the other one just above that with the extent that fits on the arm. We use those here at Parker. They're really excellent tools. They're very easy to grip. The one especially with the arm support, that really, that connects, that hooks onto the tool. So you can use that on a variety of tools that are set up for that purpose. And they're really great for reaching, but it's also giving stability to the individuals who are using them. So I highly recommend those tools.
Good. And that is the end of my presentation. So I will stop sharing if nobody wants to see anything, I'm going to stop sharing this screen, hopefully not do this right. Did I do that right?
You got it.
Okay,
Yep,
good.
absolutely.
Good.
Well, does anybody have any questions for Lee or Bonita or both?
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. So the higher raised beds that you were showing that were accessible for people using wheelchairs, how deep do you need to fill those with dirt? And is there something you can put on the bottom to kind of fill that in so that you're not?
Yes, absolutely. And I have slides there, but I was limited to the amount of time I was doing it today. But that really is, you need to fill it with we have, like, you can put a layer of compost down and leaves, cover that with cardboard, then put down some lousy soil, then cover that with cardboard, and then we have ways that you can build it up so that the top 8 inches has to be good soil. But underneath that, cardboard is a fantastic way to fill things. You can also put rocks in there, but it is a process of filling those bins because they're big and they take a lot of, no matter how high, you need to fill them with something. Yeah.
Thank you.
You just make sure there's proper drainage. So whatever it is that you do use in there, you have to make sure your soil drains properly too. So
That just seemed like a lot of
When we
square
had
footage to fill in. Sorry,
It is a
Siobhan.
lot of square footage.
No,
And
that's
when
okay,
we had
Heather.
those gardens built at the community garden, they actually filled them for us. And so they said, what do you want to fill them with? So my husband says, fill it with leaf grow. So we have all leaf grow in there, and it's fantastic. We grow 8-foot tomatoes in there. We learned really quickly. They'll put tomatoes in a raised garden that is 2 feet high, because then I have to stand on the sides and harvest, and I can't do that anymore. So we grow our sweet potatoes in the raised gardens now. So we had 200 pounds of sweet potatoes last year.
Wow.
We used the 4-inch drain tile, the 4-inch black circular.
Yes,
drain pieces.
absolutely. Those are,
We
yes.
filled the whole bed with those and then put the dirt on top. So we really only filled it in like maybe halfway. And it provided excellent drainage. So it
That's a
covered.
fantastic idea. That's a really good idea. We did not do that.
So like, for instance, the trug planters that I recommended for use, they take 13 cubic feet of soil, right? So they have a big belly. And so they're great planters. I highly recommend them. But again, following what Bonita is suggesting in terms of filling that space with some materials, we did it all in soil. But you can add other things to it. The liner, there's a liner there as well. Just as long as you can really, have a good draining material in there for your soil. But otherwise, they do take a lot of material, a lot of soil.
Yeah.
I'm just going to call on Shafan. Were you trying to ask a question? That I have 2 people with their hands raised, but I wanted to give you a chance first.
Oh, yes, thank you. I appreciate that. The vertical garden, because I live in an apartment that doesn't have a balcony or anything like that. So can you do a vertical garden in an apartment? And then my other question is, are you aware, or do you know of any places, maybe if I wanted to like rent just a little patch of land and then do a garden that way?
As far as the vertical garden inside, I think that might be difficult to do. I don't know. I've not seen that before, but I could do some research on it. As far as renting a garden, are you in Montgomery County or?
No, I'm in Baltimore City.
Baltimore City must have some community gardens there. And I would suggest that you do check with the city to see if they do have community gardens and get your name on a list. A lot of our community gardens, not all of them, some of them are with senior centers, but I think we have 34 community gardens in Montgomery County, and people rent them plots of different sizes for, I think, $85 at the community center. They're only $10 a season though. So I would check with Baltimore City, and there's also Baltimore City has a large master gardener program. So I would check with the master gardener program in Baltimore City to see if they have gardens that you can rent or use for free even. Is what I would suggest.
Do you have
Thank you.
So in Baltimore City, just looking that up, community gardens at Patterson Park.
In Baltimore City?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
More
know.
Free Farm, Upper Fells Point Community Garden. So it looks like there might be a few things that might be available to you.
Certainly, if you have the name of the Master Gardener program in Baltimore City, that would also be helpful for her. I'm not sure I'm talented enough to look up the Master Gardener program while I'm online here. So
That's all right.
Yeah, I can look it up, because those other 2 areas that were mentioned are very helpful, but they're way too far from where I
Are they?
live. So
Okay.
thank
But
you. I appreciate you both. Ladies.
I know Shafan's a good researcher, so I'm sure you can find both your local master gardeners and your local community gardens. Oftentimes the master gardeners do presentations at the local libraries too. So sometimes you can catch them at the local libraries if you check out their and they're Shafan in the chat. Both Heather and Amanda are posting info for you. so
Also,
this is what
Sarah,
happens when you have a group
Thank you. Thank you, lady.
resourceful
Sarah,
people.
Sarah, I'm showing mine again. So
Okay.
once it gets too cold outside, I can pull my garden in the house. That's why I got the one on wheels. I can pull it in the house and set it right in front of my balcony, so it'll still get the sun that it needs.
That's very nice.
It can go in the house. And I got it from Amazon. It was like $70. So it's not that expensive. And I just started Friday and I'm already seeing leaves come up. So it's pretty exciting.
That's nice. A little garden table. That's nice on wheels. Very nice.
All right, how about, hang on, Abiola, I had two people with their hands raised. Hang on. I have Joe Awkward. You got to unmute yourself, Joe, and then you can ask your question.
Hey, Michelle, you got to help me unmute.
There you are. We got you.
You got me now?
Yep.
Okay. So, great presentation. So I do the gardening using the raised pots, like on a picnic table. So the part I just had a question about, you mentioned some of your tools. So I'm a blind gardener. So what I'm trying to figure out is when you're trying to do like a little bit of intricate, like weeding, you got the space, but are there any tools for that? I just use kind of basic tools, but so tactily I can kind of tell, where I do a lot of tomatoes and vegetables, but any thoughts on that?
Joe, I think that for gardens, even if it's a raised garden, if you can put something down where the plants aren't, it's a good way to prevent weeds from the very beginning. And what I also do in our gardens is we save cardboard for days. So all the Amazon boxes that came during COVID, we broke up into boxes and now we lay them down, and cardboard will decompose over time. So you can even plant through cardboard. You can put the cardboard down, then put a hole in the cardboard and then plant right through the cardboard. And that way it prohibits the weeds from the very beginning.
That's great.
I think I don't know any particular tool that's any better than any other, because I like to get down into the soil and pull out by the roots. And it's,
me too.
I use my hands, and I don't even, I do. And I don't even put a glove on sometimes because I forget, and I want to make sure I get the whole root.
Yeah, so that's good. Thanks.
Black plastic can also help too. I mean, that kind of heats up underneath there, but you can also just cover the soil, but making sure that your plants are, properly planted or through it.
I didn't hear what you said, Lee.
Like a black plastic?
No, we don't. No, not black plastic. Well, I don't know if it's in a box.
We use that.
We don't recommend black plastic.
Okay. All right. How about Nikki? Did you want to ask a question?
I don't. Sorry, real quick. This is Nadine. I don't recommend the black plastic either because the weeds eat through it.
The weeds eat through it and also damages the soil, and the water is a problem. Everything else with plastic. We don't ever put plastic down. We're actually prohibited at our community gardens and master gardeners. We don't use black plastic.
Well, here to cardboard apparently. So
cardboard, and there's some material which is environmentally friendly and you can't put through, and the water will get through it. But that material, it's kind of a meshy material, isn't as good as cardboard. And cardboard's a lot less expensive. I'll tell you what else we used to do is we used burlap bags. And if you have a coffee shop grinder like Mayorga around you somewhere, they usually throw out those beautiful organic plastic, not plastic, oh my God, no, or burlap bags, and they're free, and they're outside their store. And I picked up hundreds of them, and we lay them down, between the rows, and you can roll them up. And they take years to decompose, but they will decompose and they won't hurt your garden. So they're.
All right, let's take Nikki and then Abiola, and then we're going to do our poll.
All right, thank you. And I'm also an apartment aspiring gardener, but my question is, is there any recommendations for keeping the critters out, like squirrels and birds, from, eating my plants?
Well, we have those backyard gardens on our house that you saw. We actually have deer jumping over our fence. So it's the main thing I can say is you need to protect them with the squirrels and the birds. You need to cover either with some type of chicken wire or chicken mesh. You need to have a fence around it. And there's also one thing you can get pretty cheaply is the tool. Like you can get a whole box of tool, like for a wedding. And it comes in this great big shit. If you can, like I have blueberry bushes in my front yard and I use clothespins. And so I put a tomato cage around the blueberry bush and I put the tool over it and clip it with clothespins, and it does keep the birds out. It keeps all the critters out, actually.
Cheesecloth works well too. So you can also use cheesecloth. It works very, very well because you want to make sure that the birds aren't getting caught in whatever it is you're using.
Yeah.
So definitely we've used cheesecloth around like blueberry bushes and things like that. That's
cheesecloth is a little bit thicker. It's fine. And it's I don't know what it costs, but the cheesecloth or tool, either one are very good. Yeah.
It wasn't too expensive. So
yeah.
Thank you.
Abiola? Oh, sorry, Nikki. Was that it?
Yeah, I was just saying thanks.
Thank you. Abiola?
Yes, Mike, two questions. One for Lee, and that was the gardening as memory care therapy. How does that work? And then the second question for Bonita is that the wonderful presentation, but none of it seemed to address concerns for those who have green thumbs. Like everything grew up so beautifully, but if you have failed miserably in the past, how would one be able to get launched into gardening if you've never made anything grow before?
She works for me, in case you were wondering. Yeah.
Why don't you become a master gardener, Abiola?
Pardon?
Become a master gardener. And then you learn how to do everything. And then you can help other people garden.
Oh, not to kill anything.
There you go. In our memory care home, we have actually we're very, very fortunate that we have beautiful outdoor spaces. And in one particular home that I run a gardening program, we do have raised beds. We do have one of those trug planters. So the elders are able to go out. They have pathways that, allow them to have access to the garden. It's all closed in, has beautiful trees. So we've been very successful in that garden. And so, we use the raised bed concept because it's easiest for them to be able to garden safely.
So you're saying that the reason because it's enclosed is why it's useful for persons who are dealing with memory issues? I didn't understand.
Well, you know what? In a sense, for that particular home, in a sense, yes, because it's more of a contained area where it's not too large, it's not confusing, it's very well laid out for them, and so it has the safety of the paths, and it's surrounded by the building, but it's beautiful. It's called Tranquility Trail, and it's a gorgeous, gorgeous garden. But I have a very small, I have a program there. One aspect of the garden that I use with them, but it's a closed enough environment that they don't get confused about where they are. It's very easy for them to maneuver it.
One thing though, label everything. It's really important, Abiola, to label everything that you put in the ground. And that way, if you forget where things are, you can look at that label. And I'm getting to the point where I forget. I said, what was this? What type of pepper was this I put in here? And some people like very hot peppers and some don't. And you give the wrong person the wrong pepper, you got a problem. So I do put in right away when I put them in there. I have to. And I have a book I keep. So every year when we plant, I have a whole layout of what goes where. And if I don't have that, I'm lost. So I'm not 20 anymore, and I do have memory issues. So just hang in there, Abiola. You'll do okay. Just keep going.
And get yourself a really good gardening book. There's lots of books out there, lots of things online to learn, and start small. As Bonita had said earlier, start small and pick a few things that you really like and then hone your skills that way.
And call a master gardener.
Yeah, call master gardener.
Just the one plant, Abiola. We're not setting a garden up outside of our office. I'll bring one plant to the office and then we'll see how we do. And
okay.
go from there. Well, thanks so much to both of you. This was very informative, so much information, lots of good questions, and great chance to learn more about gardening for all of us. So thank you. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Attending. Thank you.
And now we know about master gardeners and horticultural therapists, which I know many of us never knew. So
happy gardening, everyone.
Thank you. Now listen, don't other folks, our speakers are free to go whenever you so choose, but I want everyone else to hang on because we have, oh, hold on. Did Heather put stuff in here? Oh no, okay. Some other thank yous coming through in the chat box. But we're going to do a poll for the first time today. For those of you attending who would like to participate, we would enjoy that very much. Heather, do you know how to run this show?
Yeah. Do you want to introduce it and then I'll launch it, or do you want me to go ahead and launch it and then
launch it and then I'll talk for just a second.
I've never done this before, so we'll see how this goes.
And if it goes wrong, it's okay. We always have next week. Okay. So a poll should have popped up right in front of you on your screen. And we are doing some of the SILs are gathering information to bring back to our statewide independent living council. So that's the state group that works on independent living. And all the SIL directors are gathering some information on what people feel are the most important needs for people with disabilities in Maryland. So you have, the poll is only one question. And you have 6 choices, and these choices came from the SILs who let me know what had been like a #1 phone call or a #1 issue that they had been hearing from consumers in the past few months. So the question is, in your view, which of these are the most important needs for people with disabilities in Maryland? And your choices, can you only pick one, Heather?
I honestly don't know.
Okay.
So I'd be curious to know if somebody can vote for a second.
No, it looks like you can only pick one.
only pick one.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
So
It didn't give me an option to do multiple. I don't think.
It's just fine. It's just fine. Because we're going to do this poll, several times probably over the next few weeks or whatever. So the first choice is assistive technology and accessible home modifications. The second is access to affordable living. The third is basic needs, which is intended to mean food, energy assistance, medical supplies. The fourth choice is access to rental assistance and eviction prevention. Fifth, need for in-home care assistance. And sixth, the lack of personal care attendance. So that's, actually hiring people. So if you can please click the one that is you feel the most important need for people with disabilities in Maryland, and then hit submit. And that will make the window go away. As soon as you hit submit, it disappears. So then what happens, Heather? Does it go to like a magical land? And
I have no idea. We'll find out.
We're gonna find out.
Well, I can tell you right now, nothing's showing up on my end. So we're finding out what's going on there.
Oh, then Heather has to go to the Zoom account. Okay.
Yeah, so once you feel like everyone has answered the question, then Heather would just close the poll. And then after that, then she'll get the results or
okay.
Results.
All right. So this
is how I approach all technology is I just push buttons until stuff does what I need it to do.
I think that's a good attitude, Heather. Let's just
and then they put me in charge of tech for the office. I don't know what they were thinking, but
Heather, I get in trouble for that.
Yeah, it's true.
I learned it from Doctor Who.
From the tech, we need you.
Does anybody have any announcements before we close things? I know it's already 3:05, but I always want to give a chance for announcements. And thank you for participating in the poll. We appreciate that.
Sarah, you could always get a cacti for the office. I hear they're pretty easy to take care of.
A what? A tadpole?
Yes.
I didn't hear what you said.
Cactus.
Oh, a cactus. I think that's our kind of, I believe that is, Abiola, wouldn't that be about right? We'll get a cactus.
No.
No, I agree. I agree with Shannon.
Okay. I think there's some cactuses you can eat. Maybe we'll get the cactus you can eat, and then it's growing food and growing things.
We can go back to talking about the raised garden for independence now,
Okay.
though.
Well, so yeah, you can eat it's they do it a lot in Mexico. They make nopales, which are delicious. And I used to get them with chorizo, and then you put them on tortillas, and then you eat them, nom nom nom. But I haven't seen them because
It's a cooking class and accessible gardening all in one show.
Yeah, yeah. I tried to prepare them one time, and it just didn't go over well. It was gross.
I've had prickly pear cactus, Nikki. I've seen prickly pear cactus.
All right. Well, thank you all so much.
I'm gonna end the poll. Sarah,
poll.
it says access to affordable housing. No surprise there.
No
Sarah, I already told you that was the problem.
Oh, look at that. It popped up for all of us.
I shared the results. I opted to share the results.
So
I thought people would like to see that.
If we can, I'm going to take a screenshot of this because then I can send it to our statewide independent living council. And thank you. Thank you
You're
all
welcome.
for participating, and thank you, Heather. And see, we did just fine. It was just fine.
Excuse me, I have a question. Who do I contact, or who would I contact if I had a question about getting like rental assistance because I just moved here from North Carolina like 6 months ago.
Where do you live?
I live in Germantown.
I'm going to have Abiola, who's here, as our independent living specialist. So, Wanda, do you mind?
Wanda?
Hi.
Abiola, can you put your email in the chat so Wanda can have it?
I'm doing that right now.
One moment, Wanda.
You.
She's going to drop it in the box.
Yeah, because like they cut my Medicare B off, and so I'm paying out of pocket, and